Hey guys, this is Fergal from Poker VIP. We're going to be starting into a coaching series for 20NL over on Betfair Poker. So we're going to be playing 2 tables of speed poker throughout the series, and we're going to be seeing if we can run up some decent stacks throughout. So just after jumping into the pool now, so this is the first time I've been in the speed poker pool in Betfair. So I'm just getting a little bit familiar with a few of the regular faces. One thing you'll notice is at the moment the player pool is a little bit smaller than it normally would be, so we're playing mainly four-handed, so interestingly the dynamics will change quite a bit as we are going through. So for example, Queen 10 here, I'm definitely going to be calling a 3-bet in a short-handed game. The aggression will definitely be a little bit increased in general. So calling in position with these types of hands is definitely much more profitable than it would be in a regular 6-max game where ranges are going to be a little bit tighter. Over on the right table, we opened up King 10, we flopped top pair, so we're going to be going ahead and having a bet. And when it's checked to us on the left table, we're going to be looking to aggressively take some stabs at on this kind of board. We're going to have a decent number of pocket pairs in our range here, which my opponent likely won't be ahead of. So when he check raises here, actually I don't really believe him at all. I'm just going to go ahead and ship the money here and expect to get a decent number of folds very frequently. I feel if he had the overpair that he's representing, he just would have been betting the flop himself. So we get that one through, which is always good. So a decent start to the session. We're up €5 over on the left table and we're still breaking even over on the right. I didn't actually see what happened on the right table there. I'm guessing we must have lost that pot though. On the left table here, we're just going to check our second pair, see if we can get this to showdown. Not anymore. Now we're going to be looking to bet for value. And ace king suited, we're obviously going to be playing. So we're just going to be betting 2 streets here, turn and river, trying to maximize our value from his potential ace x, which he shouldn't have that often. In fact, actually checking here might have been a more viable option because I think he's going to show us more heart draws than he is ace x there. So I think checking and trying to induce bluffs might have made more sense there. So that was a bit of a blunder on my part. Queen 9 suited, we are going to be bringing it in for a raise if it's folded to us. We're going to defend here versus Lord Foztugato. This was the guy who we jammed the money in on the one of the first hands. And 9-10 offsuit, I think we're going to be bringing it in for a 3-bet. So as per my previous videos, my general strategy when it comes to 3-betting is we are going to be 3xing it when we are in position, and 4xing the opening raise when we are out of position, when we opt to put in the raise. Ace Queen, obviously an open in a 4-handed game. It's an open in any handed game really. From under the gun, maybe a 9-max you can consider making a very tight fold if you're a nitty player, but as I'm sure a few of you that have been watching the videos are aware, I'm not a nitty player. So Ace Queen is obviously going to be in my opening range from any position at any table. Queen 6, we're going to be sticking it where it belongs, in the muck, if it is raised at any point. The only exception here is when it gets min raised. We don't fold min raises here. We're getting 3 to 1 on our money. We're just getting too good a price to consider folding, so we call when we have position. We pretty good flop. We flop pair and a flush draw, so we are just going to be clicking call. Our hand has actually gone down a little bit in value. He's got a lot more hands that can potentially be better than us now, so I'm just happy to check this down. We have a weak flush. We're never going to really get called by worse here. So I'm happy just to check this and get this to showdown. So we take that pot down, so rack one up for the good guys. 10-6 is going to be a fold, 9-7 is also going to be a fold. The Queen Deuce here, again, we're probably just going to be mucking it. Ace 5 though, we can definitely look at defending. Normally I would be 3-betting this type of hand, but against a short stacker I think we're going to be better off just calling. We're going to assume that he is probably not one of the better players in the pool, because anyone who is in for less than half a stack at the table is more than likely not going to be fantastic. So we're just going to see a flop. It sucks being out of position, but I still think it's going to be profitable, and I don't really want to 3-bet this hand and turn it into a complete bluff when When we have ace high, it's going to be ahead of a decent chunk of his opening range. When we turn a pair, we're just going to go ahead and bet for protection into two people. If we get called or raised, we're pretty much done putting more money into the pot. That was purely a protection bet. Pretty unlikely we're getting called by worse there, but I don't want that to check through and give two other guys a chance to catch up. King 6 we will likely be defending. We are probably going to be bringing it in for a 3-bet, unless it's Drake that opens for the same reasons that I discussed in the last hand. Just gets a little bit more awkward 3-betting a shorter stack. They're able to 4-bet jam very, very profitably if you're 3-betting wide, so I tend to tighten up my 3-betting ranges and have it much more value heavy versus short stackers. Ace Queen, obviously an open from the button, as will Queen 10 if it's folded to us. Pretty good flop. We flop top pair. We have the toppest of the kickers, so we are going to be looking to build a pot. I treat min bets essentially as a check, so I'm just going to be going ahead and betting as if he has checked to us. We now have top 2, which is excellent news. I think the chances of us being beat here are exceptionally slim, so we're just going to be betting again. The ace does kind of suck though, because it means it's going to be more difficult to get paid if he has a worse queen and so on. Hopefully he just is slow playing a hand like Queen 9 though, and will give us all the business. Alas, he does not, but we still win a bit of a pot, so we can't complain. 9-6 under the gun, we are going to be sticking it in the muck. Jack 6 we're probably not going to be defending over here either. Queen Jack will have a decision now, depending on the action before us though. I think this hand, I know we've discussed not 3-betting, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to use this as a 3-bet bluff, but I'm going to size it down smaller than I normally would. As I mentioned earlier on, I normally 4x it when we are out of position. Against a short stacker though, we have to look at reducing that sizing down. By the same logic, we can actually look at increasing it a little bit when we're deeper stacked as well, but as I said, versus the shorter stack, the upside of going larger is greatly outweighed by the downside. So we have top pair, very weak kicker, and we have some backdoor equity as well. There's a decent number of draws, and these guys have a decent number of jack X that may call one street. So we're going to fire once here, and the Queen 9 suited, we are going to be defending to the min open. So we flop top pair with a middling kicker, which is fine by me. When we get called here and the third diamond rolls off, we're definitely just checking this back now and trying to get our hand to showdown. And we're just in check call mode here with the Queen 9. I think raising here would be a bit of an overplay. So he bets super small. I don't love this at all, and I do expect to be beat here fairly often, but I think folding is out of the question given the price that we're getting. So I'm just going to click call, and yeah, he has the slightly better ace. As I said, I'm not at all shocked to see that, but we were getting a crazily good price to him for 40 cents into, I think it was 2.90 thereabouts, so we were just getting way too good a price to consider folding. So unfortunately, our opponent on the left table doesn't barrel again as a bluff. I don't love the ace, but I wasn't planning on folding either. With the way the hand went down, I think folding is pretty much completely out of the question. This guy has gotten a little bit shorter again. He was the guy that we just 3-bet a little while ago, so I don't want to consistently be 3-betting the short stacks with a hand like this, because it's just going to encourage him to re-jam lightly over us, which is not what we want at all. Bad and good turn for us. We obviously have a strong flush draw now along with our pair, but there's an overcard which is potentially has us in trouble. And I'm just going to bet for value here now. Very unlikely that we're beat, and if he hasn't bet flop or turn, it's pretty unlikely he's going to start bluffing on the river, so I figure it makes most sense just to take a stab there and try to get picked off by any kind of underpairs that he can have, that type of hand. King Deuce, we are going to actually use as a 3-bet bluff here versus the deep stack versus the min button open, unless Drake makes a play at this pot. So we're going to be making it 4x here, making it 160. So one thing, generally speaking, in the speed poker games, people overfold quite significantly. So And I'm completely new in this pool, so no one's really going to have any sort of idea as to how I am playing or anything of the sort, so we can definitely take advantage of that anonymity early on until people realize that we're probably 3-betting a bit more than we should be. Ace Jack suited, we are going to be playing versus the 3x versus this stack size. I don't want to be 3-betting this type of hand. I'm definitely happy just to click the call button and see a flop. So we block some of his King X, which is a good thing. We have a good shot, which is also a good thing. And we have some backdoor flush equity, which is also a good thing. So when it goes check check, we're just going to start stabbing at this pot ourselves. We can for sure have a decent amount of King X that's going to play this way. So this bet is for sure believable, because we will be checking to him if we flopped a king as well. And we have to fire again, I feel. So we're going to make a reasonably sturdy bet on the river. So we take that down. I wouldn't be shocked if he folded out a hand like 10x there, or maybe a hand like jacks or queens. Not overly likely, but it is possible. It's pretty unlikely that we had the best hand though, so I'm definitely happy with taking that one down. Pocket sevens, obviously going to be an open. And 7-8 offsuit, I think we're going to go ahead and open it as well. So this flop on the right table, it's one of the better hands that doesn't contain a 7, or but one of the better flops, should I say. And he's not going to have a ton of 9x. He's obviously going to have some 9x, but not a huge amount. And for the most part, he's going to have whipped this board pretty hard. So we're going to be betting for value / protection. We turn a belly buster, which is interesting. I think with the 6, it's probably one of the better cards in the deck for us. So I'm going to go ahead and bet again here. I don't expect him to be raising a 9. We want to make sure that we charge his random overcard floats, which he may have some of, as well as his heart draws. And as I said, even if he does have a 9 there, we do have 10 clean outs to a straight, or to 8 to a straight, and then 2 to a set as well. And over on the left table, I think we're just going to check back our ace. No, that seems too weak. We're going to bet again for value. Pretty unlikely that he is a better ace than us here, so I think we should have the best hand here almost always, unless he is rivered an 8. So we get picked off there, which is always nice. Always nice to eke out the extra bit of value. And ace queen suited is for sure going to be an open, and when it gets raised and called, we are going to use it as a 3-bet. And we're going to be raising it up to the button limper here with the ace rag as well. So with ace queen here, we definitely don't want to get re-raised, but we're fine having position. We didn't really want 2 callers, but obviously when we flop top, we're thrilled. So we're just going to be betting here and looking to get stacks in essentially. And we're just going to take one stab on the flop here. Over on the right table versus Mr. Campton. We have ace high, which does rate to be the best hand fairly often, but if we check, it's going to, out of position, it's going to make it kind of difficult to play that pot with a weak ace, I think. If we had a stronger ace, if we had 2 overcards to the board, check calling becomes a much more viable option, but I think as played, I think I like our line of just leading out and trying to take it down. And we're going to use 9-jack offsuit here as a 3-bet bluff as well in position. And we flop middle pair and we have a gut shot, so that is more than enough equity to go into check mode. So queen is a great card for us, obviously reduces the queen X combos that he can have. I think we're going to just check it again, and if the king hadn't rolled off, I would have bet the river. When he leads out on this king, I think we're just going to fold. It's pretty unlikely that we're good here. I possibly should have bet the turn, but my logic was that there was very few cards in the deck that we are afraid of, so there was going to be a decent number of bricks that are going to fall on the river, and then we can happily call any bet, or we can bet for value ourselves. The king unfortunately wasn't one of those good cards, so we got a little bit unlucky there, but as I said, we could have probably bet the turn there as well to avoid that scenario, but hey, you can't play perfect poker you can always play perfect poker in retrospect when you know what's coming, right? King deuce is going to be good enough for a steal, blind versus blind, and we're going to defend the ace6 over on the right table. I didn't realize this guy was so short stacked. If I had realized that, I would have actually considered just shipping the money in against him. That might not be amazing though, so I don't hate just calling, seeing a flop, and then folding when we brick. Queen deuce is not going to be good enough for an open. King deuce though is probably going to be good enough for a defend in position here. Actually, I'm going to use it as a 3-bet bluff rather than a call. think it's going to be a little bit more profitable. So we get that through without any risk, which is always a good result. And 3-5 offsuit is going to be going in the muck. It's not good enough for a button steal. If it was suited, we could consider it, but offsuit, I think we're just going to go ahead and, as I said, stick it in the muck. King 10, though, for sure we're going to be raising. I have to say, I quite like the short-handed games. Normally when I play primarily 6-max, but I do enjoy when it goes down to kind of 3, 4, 5-handed as well, for sure. Versus the min open, we're going to just go ahead and 3-bet here as a bluffing position. We don't hate getting a flat call here. We're going to be able to play aggressively on a lot of different runouts when we have position here. This being one of them. Obviously he's not going to have a ton of Jack-X here by any stretch. Now, neither are we, but most people aren't thinking on that level that much. So, and we are going to have all of the overpairs in our range here, so we're just going to be betting here for sure. So that's a prime example of where a lot of people might just consider flat calling the King 10 here, which is, it's going to be profitable for sure, but I think it's going to be more profitable using it as a 3-bet. And similarly, the Ace 8 here, we are going to be bringing it in for a re-raise. We block all of his strong Ace-X. We don't love the overcall at all here in the big blind. In fact, I'm quite worried about Discovery and NASA here, so we're not going to be playing that aggressively on many different boards. We flop a weak top pair, which I'm not thrilled about at all. I think there's a decent enough chance that we are still going to be in trouble here, so we're going to be playing fairly passively here. This is one of the very few spots where I'm just going to be check folding top pair on the flop. Versus this sizing, it's just so unlikely that our hand is going to be good here, and if we call now, we're saying that we're playing for stacks basically. We can't call 440 and the pot will be up at around the $14-15 mark then. And he'd have 1360 behind, which is just pot, so we would have to pretty much be getting it in, which is going to be a big mistake with Ace 8 there. So our 3-bet does not work out, but I'm still confident it's going to turn a profit in the long run. We turn a flush draw here. I'm just going to click call and try to realize our equity. I don't really want to start bluffing on this board. He's going to have a decent number of hands that aren't planning on folding, so I think it's going to be a bit of a spew in the long run. And 8-6. As much as I do like defending the big blind, I don't think this is going to be a call despite the price that we're getting. 5-6 we can consider stealing if it's folded around to us. If there's any action before us though, we're just going to go ahead and fold. It is folded to us, so we're going to go ahead, bring in the raise and see if we can get the steal through. So we get 3-bet by Green Dalich over here on the right table. We are not planning on defending out of position. And we get 3-bet by Mr. Campton as well, so we're just going to go ahead and stick our cards in the muck. There is no shame with getting your hand caught in the cookie jar from time to time. In fact, if you only ever raise when you only have the goods, then obviously people are going to cop onto that sooner or later, and you will end up losing a lot of value with your stronger hands. So we flop top pair, very good kicker, which is a pretty unlikely scenario for a hand like King 6. We're just going to be betting here for protection. There are so many cards that we don't want to see in the turn here, so we want to make sure that we're charging him if he has any sort of hand that he's willing to continue with. I don't love the extra club by any stretch, so we're just going to be in check call mode now. Or sorry, in check fold mode, should I say. We're definitely just checking this down now. So he has pocket 10s. Interesting that he chose to check that flop with the overpair. I wasn't expecting to see a hand in pocket 10s. If I'd realized that he was doing that with that type of hand, I would have considered firing a second barrel on the turn. But yeah, as I said, I wasn't really expecting to see that many kind of pocket 10 type hands there without a club. This was a mistake. I meant to 3x it here. I made it 4x by mistake. No, I don't want to be folding when I don't have to. And we are just going to go ahead and fire a euro into 190, see if we can pick this pot up uncontested, which we do, which is always good. Over on the left table, we picked up a pair, but it's not really one that we're looking to get much money in the pot with in a three-way pot. In fact, it's 2 pair now is going to be good enough for a bet though. I was pretty much folding at any point to any bet, but when we pick up 2 pair, we have to try to go for value. Unfortunately, no one has a hand that they can call with though, which I'm not overly shocked at with the way that hand played down. It's quite possible that our 9, or in fact it's almost definite that our 9 was good, but as I said, we have to try, right? It's pretty unlikely that when people have checked through flop and turn, I don't think it's that likely that they're going to start coming alive on that river and start bluffing in a multi-way pot. I think if they were the kinds that were gonna start bluffing at those kinds of boards, that they would have done it before the river. We're just going to check our suited connectors here, see a flop, and we're just going to fire out a small bet for protection with our top pair. This is a bit of a kind of tilting bet, because if he has random overcards, he's getting a decent price, but probably not good enough to flat call, and he may kind of level himself into making an ill-advised bluff raise. And we're just going to check call 7-8 now. Unfortunately, he doesn't stab, so we just pick up a very small pot for a hand which was likely good, which isn't great, but just kind of hard to see what kind of hand he can have that will call 3 streets there with, even though they are 3 very small streets. 7-8 suited is going to be an easy open, and we were going to be defending the pocket 8s for sure, more than likely using it as a 3-bet, but calling wouldn't have been absurd either, depending on sizings and so on. 7-8 suited, obviously bringing it in for a raise, and as I said, we got it through. 8-3 suited is not going to be good enough though, so we're going to stick it in the muck. So we have Jack-King suited. We have a limper from under the gun. We are going to be bringing this in for an ISO raise if it's folded around to us, and if it's raised at any point before us, depending on the position that brings in the raise, we will consider continuing as well. It's a hand that has a decent amount of post-flop equity. We don't have to think anything like that though, so we're just going to go ahead and make our standard 5x out of position opening ISO raise. So we flop a flush draw, which is good to the nuts. This guy shouldn't have that much ace-x. We have a decent amount of ace-x, so we're just going to go ahead and fire here and expect to take that down with a reasonable degree of frequency, which we do. And let's see now, 6-7 offsuit, not going to be good enough for an open from the cutoff. 4-10 offsuit, not going to be good enough for a defend, unfortunately. I really do hate folding my big blind to min raises, but as I said, when you have cards like 10-6 and so on, unfortunately it's just a requirement. The 8-6 offsuit, we can steal here from the button, and we're just going to flat call the ace-5 over on the left table versus the min open from the button. We flop bottom pair top kicker. We are going to check. We're going to call 1 street, and then if he continues barreling on future streets, we're going to fold. I think that's going to be our general plan of action for now, at least. He is tanking down, which is kind of strange. So yeah, we're going to go ahead for the check call. We've got a few cards that we can improve. Obviously, our pair of 5s can definitely be good, and I don't expect him to be going berserk, kind of betting this straight, betting like running a multi-barrel bluff very often on this kind of board. So we're just going to go ahead and check to him again. When he's check back turn, we consider it a flop call, to be honest, or a river call. We'll consider it. I don't know if I love it though. I don't know if I love it. No, I think it'll be a bit of a spew. I don't think it can be terrible, but I think we're going to be better off just finding the fold there. Pocket ace is over on the right table. We're obviously going to be looking to play for stacks versus the short stacker here. Hopefully he has a queen, and we'll just raise, get the money in with us now. And pocket kings on the left table. So pocket aces and pocket kings simultaneously. Always fun. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bet an amount that makes sure that we can get the money in comfortably on the river. So we're going to go about 180, and then I think we can maybe still not quite jam, but we can probably overbet jam though. And if he has a queen, it's pretty unlikely he's going to fold, I think. So he calls again. I mean, he shouldn't ever have a 4 here, I don't think. So unless he has precisely something like queen 4, which would be a bit bizarre rather. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick. It's a slight overbet, so I didn't really plan my flop bet accordingly here. So we're just gonna stick the money in anyway and just go for the slight overbet. If he has a queen, it's going to be very difficult for him to fold, I think, here. If anything, our hand looks a little bit bluffier here because we're obviously never going to show up with a 4, or at least very rarely anyway. So let's hope we get a crying call from a hand like queen jack or something like that. Unfortunately, we don't. Be quite interested to see what he had there, because I would assume he doesn't have a queen very often there. It just seems like if he has a queen, he should be committing his stack. A7 rates to be good here actually fairly often. I think we're just going to check it back here for a showdown value. So we are indeed ahead, which is always nice with ace high. And 9-10 offsuit, we're going to be bringing it in for a raise if it was folded to us, but it's raised before us, so we're going to stick it in the muck. Deuce 3 offsuit, not going to be good enough in the small blind, unfortunately. And pocket 5s and pocket 3s, so simultaneous pocket pairs. We're going to be bringing in the pocket 5s in for a raise for sure. Pocket 3s, if Pearl Jam opens, we're going to have an awkward decision because his stack size just makes things very, very awkward. I don't really want to raise get it in versus that many big blinds, but I don't like. I mean, it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be bad, but he's going to show us a decent number of overpairs, and we're never crushing him. So I just think we're going to make it an awkward fold. Like obviously against a full stacker there, we're calling. Against a deeper stack, we would consider using it as a 3-bet bluff, but probably wouldn't. But yeah, versus that small a stack, it just makes things very, very awkward. We flop the open ender over on the right table, so we just take a stab at it and we get the fold through, which is never a bad result when you have 5 high. We wouldn't have despised a call, obviously, because there are a decent number of cards that we will be able to barrel on very, very profitably, and we also have a lot of equity to the straight. We're going to use the ace-7 with our ace blocker as a 3-bet bluff. I should have made this 4x, again, that was just a mistake in sizing by me. We're going to show up with some king x here for sure, so is villain definitely, but I think we're going to just fire a one and done stab at this and see if we can just take this down, which we do. Obviously any of his pocket pairs under the jack there is just going to have to fold that bet, so we're folding in a decent amount of hands that are better than ours, and we're never getting called by worse though, obviously, unless he has a hand like queen 10 or something like that for an open ender. Ace-9, the 6 is not actually that bad a card. It's probably better for us than it is for him because he's going to have some stronger aces for sure, which we're now chopping with. But we're just happy to check our ace down, get it to showdown. We're never going to get called by worse. And when it's checked 3 times, I would expect to be good here fairly often, which we are. But again, it's just one of those spots where it's going to be nearly impossible to get called by a worse hand, so there's no real point in betting it, despite our confidence that we do the best. If he's slow playing a hand like pocket 7s, for example, where he's just better than playing the board with the ace kicker, then he's obviously never folding, and that would make some sense, I guess. But I think in general the ace is going to be good there fairly frequently. I'd assume he'd bet a hand like pocket 7s at least on the river to try to get value from the hands like ace high and so on. 10 jack suited, we are going to be bringing it in for a raise, and deuce 7 offsuit, we're just going to be sticking it in the muck. 10 jack again, it's offsuit this time, but we're still going to be raising it from the button for sure. Should be included in any standard buttoning open range for sure. And king deuce suited, again, probably good enough. This one's a little bit borderline with the deuce kicker, but I think the fact that it's suited for sure is going to make it okay. This is the potential to be a decent pot where if we have any sort of decent, if we flop any sort of decent draw, any sort of decent holding, then we can be looking to play for stacks versus either of these guys. So we flop the flush draw. I think I'm just going to raise get it in here versus this guy. Oh wow. This guy just open jams himself. So the problem now is that it's entirely possible that our flush draw is going to be dominated here by this raise. I'm actually going to fold this, as sad as it makes me. I just think that we are going to be in trouble there quite often to a stronger flush, and when that happens, like, we're just in such rough shape. And the reason that I like the raise get it in versus this when we were heads up by one of the guys was that obviously when we raise, we do have a decent amount of fold equity as well, which is what makes that play so profitable. Whereas when we have no fold equity at all, we're just relying on hitting our flush, and that's not going to be that great a proposition when it's not even when it's a reasonably weak flush. It's just going to be an unfortunate spot. So as much as I hate folding there with such a strong piece of that flop, it's just you have to do it, unfortunately. So we're just going to call our pocket 7s. It does rate to be the best hand here fairly often. If he barrels again, we're going to have a decision. We're definitely happy to check this back, and we're going to be calling most rivers now. The 3 for sure we're going to be calling. Pocket nines, I like his line there for sure. I don't think that we can fold our hand there at any point with the way the hand went down. So we get called behind us as well here. So our ace-10 has gone significantly down in value. We're just going to be folding if there's a second barrel now on the turn. And the 8-10 over here, this is going to be our last hand of the session, so we're going to call it. So as I said, this has been Fergal from Poker VIP. I hope you have enjoyed watching it. I hope you have learned something as well. And obviously, one of the key takeouts from this is that the games here are for sure on the weaker side. We've definitely been able to pick up a huge amount of pots uncontested throughout this session. So we've had very little, hands go to showdown, and we're up well over half a buy-in over half an hour. So we're up maybe €15 there, 13, €14, something in those regions. So not a bad result at all. And I'll be back again soon for part 2. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care.